All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it here today. So, triple Q's here, getting another free 1% today. But that wouldn't tell you the whole story. This market gapped down a little bit on the open. Qs are actually the weakest of the four indices today, as we saw healthcare, XLV getting a bid, UNH up another 3.5% there, going into the 200 moving average. We had bank earnings as well. Morgan Stanley missing earnings, but up 6% anyway. Oh, it's always about the market's reaction. That's why you never want to care too much about the number. Bank of America up over 4% there on the day. They had decent earnings, but getting a good gap up, and that is helping out the general banking sector, right? So up 1% there, excuse me, on the XLF. KBE, 3.5% rally, and KRE up 4.28%. We'll talk about those in a minute. You see Goldman, JPM, Wells, Citi all getting sympathy bids there. Now, why are the Qs rallying again? Well, it's right back to the QQQ show. Microsoft, and basically announcing a subscription deal with Microsoft 365. They announced some, something to do with NVIDIA and their earnings, which, again, like Options X stuff here, right? This reeks of Options X stuff. The fact that this stuff got announced a week before they report earnings. Why couldn't they just wait a week? But either way, Microsoft, new all-time high. Up 4.25. Let's look at an intraday here. Big surge. NVIDIA also pumping up on that as well. AMD getting a little bit of a sympathy bid there, but Microsoft really leading the charge. And take a look at the advanced decline. We had good breadth earlier, and then the second that news got announced, it all went right into Microsoft and big tech. So again, the big tech show, you see Meta there, Amazon coming back to the flat line, Apple coming back to the flat line, really helping ramp this market up here. So again, Magnificent Seven wins again, and markets here through that, or QQQ here through that 380, starting to get a little ridiculous. So we've been talking about stretched, overbought, extended. How about who had this on your bingo sheet this year, where the NQ 4-hour RSI 70 would become support, and then going back to double top there, all these metrics here, Bollinger Bands outside of the Bollinger, the Bollinger Band is becoming support now. There's so many, since right here we're up 6%, since here we're up 7.5%, so the last 6 sessions we're up 6% on the QQQ. Crazy stuff going on here. A lot of it is forced buying, as I've already mentioned. Certain funds not meeting their benchmarks. A lot of it's vol supply, vol being oversupplied. But right now, as for tomorrow here, we are into the weekly expected move for Friday. So 45.60 was your expected move. I think if you want to try a bear shot for tomorrow, as far as a day trade, don't shoot me. I'm just saying, as a day trade, you get a gap up. I'd say there's a pretty good risk reward of a fade. Given that it's Wednesday, we have earnings. We have OPEX this week. We're overbought the first 2 days of OPEX week. That's usually the rule of thumb, is when you're up big the first 2 days or down big, you want to play the other side on Wednesday, possibly into Thursday. But either way, big move there. If you're a bull, you kind of just want to see another gap down, right? So, you look at the NQ here. We sold off like 60 points and then we rallied 200. So you want to see those, markets up, markets end on the gap up, right? Gap ups are for selling, that kind of mantra. But right now, nothing to say they can't take us to 46 here. In fact, that's probably where we want to go. It's just a matter of, do we get there, by the end of the week, or do we pull back first into this trend line and then push up? I think, at this point, it's kind of a magnet. I believe there's still that phantom print around 461 or 464, somewhere in that range. It basically takes you to that double top right there on the SPX. That's going to be right into that 463.2 area. So that's what we're looking at. We are above this pivot now. Again, and if until we do technical damage and at least break the 20 moving average, which coincides with this trend line, markets can still go higher. We'll see if we end up back testing. The bear scenario for the next 3 days is you end up, back testing 4,500, and that's probably where you get pinned to. That's really all I can see right now, unless you do some technical damage and take this area out. But again, triple Qs here. There's another level we're coming up into around 390. That may kind of coincide with the 4,600 handle on the SPX, although we're not that far away here on the Qs. There's your pivot high 390.20, and really we're only about 4% away from all-time highs here. So the triple Qs had an incredible run, very overbought and extended, but when you're in a mania phase, this can happen. So that's the way the market is set up right now, but 390 is the next level. And then of course SPX, we'll see how this gaps up tomorrow. If it does, we are into the weekly expected move, so they may snap it back into 4,500. But outside of that, nothing to say. I can't go to 46 here in the near term. IWM getting a bid today. Although it did not, again, you see the AD, as soon as that Microsoft news came out, it's basically just been flat for the rest of the day there on the intraday. You are still above 191.74. If you close the week below that, it's a failed breakout. But for right now, no problems, and it's getting a bid here. Again, regional banks have a lot to do with it, right? The KRE, used to move 2% a month. Now it moves 2% a day, and the weighting is still the same in the Russell 2000. Still over 20% is weighted in banks and regionals. So it's going to move the IWM, right? When KRE is up 4.25, the Russell's just going to be green unless everything else is red. So Russell 2000 up 1.25 there, no problems currently. Coming into some resistance there though on the weekly, as you can see right there with that failed bull flag pattern there. So anyways, Dow here getting the biggest bid. So that's up over 1% still. That's through 50. That's new 52-week highs there for the DIA. Again, UNH helping out a lot. And then, of course, Bank of America. Bank of America's not in, but Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan getting that sympathy bid with the other banks, helping out the diamond there. So diamond making new highs. Let's take a look at the next levels here. It might just be 350, whole round number. Yeah, you're going into this pivot right there. So that red reversal bar. Let's look on the weekly here because we haven't looked at this in a while. Yeah, so right into this area here, 350, pierce at 350, 352, 353 is going to be your next level there on the diamond, but that seems to be holding up just fine. Semiconductors up 0.5%. That's set to make a new all-time closing high like it did yesterday. Still, we're just inside of this candle here. In fact, we're just testing it right now, so we'll see if that makes a new nominal and closing high, but semi's holding up. Looks like NVIDIA wants 500 at this point. IGV right into the next level. We talked about this yesterday, 367. There would be your pivot. There it is. And it's getting tagged right now. This is getting a little short-term overbought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row. Green on cloud software. So may need to do some backing and filling here, but it is having a nice day. Dow Transport's also having a nice day. JB Hunt will be reporting after hours. So that will move the transports there. That is a trucking name. And I believe United is reporting later this week here as well. That's up 2.5% on the day. Let me just confirm that. I believe they report tomorrow or Thursday. Okay, yes, it is tomorrow there. So United obviously will help move the transports. Anyways, Dow Transports above this pivot here, and that is confirming now. So that can go higher. On the weekly here, your next real resistance around 16.5, that breakdown area. But transport's holding up. We'll see how those earnings do affect the DJT. All right, over to interest rates here. So rates, again, continuing to hold up as we look at Bitcoin there. Rates hanging in there. So again, back above that 20 moving average, we'll reclaim trend there. Again, rates are going to do a lot of backing and filling right now, but even if they do push lower, they're not going to go much lower. The saving grace right now for the market is the Fed is going to raise by 25 basis points next week, which will keep this 2-year yield away from that area. So 5.08 is the magic number right now. That's going to go up about 25 basis points next week, and that will buy the Fed a lot more time. But right now, rates themselves are holding up. 5-year still holding that 4% level. 10-year trying to hold this trend line here. This can still do some backing and filling. Then 30-year holding 3.9, so no real issues there. Over to housing, XHB was chopping around earlier. That is making a new high here. Let's take a look. So we're very close here to all-time highs on the XHB, going into some resistance around 85 probably. Take a look at this, really overbought and extended. But again, trend is up. You're in a mania type move, and this can happen. ITB new all-time highs. This can still go higher. Still very stretched though. VNQ trying to back test 84, right? So low of the day, 84.38. Would like to see a little bit more stalling out, and then this can potentially push up. So we'll be watching this moving forward. But looks like it tried to back test 84. I want to see this pattern firm up just a little bit more. XLF we talked about. That made a new high there. We'll watch that going into the end of the week. See if you can get above this trend line there. KBE, believe it or not, this can go to 46 if you get a weekly close above 38.12. So there could be a fake out. I've seen this happen a million times during OPEX week. You get a big pop up on earnings, and the next day the market says, wait, we don't like it anymore, and it comes right back down. Obviously, this is an ETF, but lots of banks reported today. And I believe Goldman reports tomorrow too. So that could move things. But you get a close below that on the weekly, it's a failed breakout. If this closes above this line, 45 to 46 is where it's going to go. I know it's a long ways away. It's not going to go there in a straight line, but that can happen. KRE, there's your level right there. 44.59. That one is still in breakout mode. That one could probably get up into the 52 handle should it be able to hold that area. Broker dealers here pushing all the way up through 500. So that exceeded my short-term price target here, but you're going into this all-time high. So right around 510, and then of course double top are your next areas there. Again, Morgan Stanley up 6%. Of course, that's going to help out the XBD there. All right, over to commodities here. Crude up 2%. This is holding up well. Back tested that 100 MA. If you put in a higher low here and you close the week above 76.69, got good volume behind that too. You close the week above 76.69, this gets very interesting because then you're going to go to 82.72. If you close above that, you buy dips on oil. Really that simple. This is going to affect the CPI too. Moving forward, market doesn't care about it yet. I think it will eventually if this starts to inch higher, because year over year, that's what it's based off of. Look at where we were a year ago. We were higher, and we were pushing lower all throughout the fall, all until March. If this starts to inch up, that's going to change a lot of narratives. Right now it hasn't, but just watch that. XLE holding up okay. Still got that inside weekly pattern, so I'm not in love with it yet. XOP, you guys know, is still holding up better. That gets through 135. That can go to 142, possibly even 145. Then OIH is my favorite, but it just won't give me a dip to buy or a correction. I'm sure it will eventually, but nice move there, up 2.5. This is the strongest one of the bunch. Nat Gas is setting up for a move here as well. Again, look at where Nat Gas was a year ago versus where it is now. Of course, the CPI is going to be lower year over year, but it's going to fall, and it's going to get a lot easier, or I should say a lot harder for the CPI to beat those year-over-year numbers. Nat Gas is setting up for a move. I want to see the weekly close here, but it should go and test $3 next week, and then once it gets through that, it's $3.50 and $4. Dollar index, continuing to just kind of hang on to that 100 handle. Could be trying to put in daily bearish consolidation, so inside bar. I still think it gets one more counter trend pop towards 102. It would just be very strange if we just didn't get some type of a bid here. But DXY is still weak. I still think this wants to go into the mid 90s. But short term, it's still oversold and still needs to do some backing and filling to the upside. All right, gold here up 1.25. So that is testing this resistance zone. We finally got through 1970. Excuse me. Next area is 2000. So that will be your next area to test there on gold. We'll see if it can reclaim this 20 moving average on a weekly close. I'm not doing anything with it currently. Silver here also holding up well. We'll see how that reacts at 25.50. That may need to put in more of a pattern. Same thing with platinum. Testing 1,000. If that can put a higher low in, then it can push higher. But I'm not convinced of it either way at this point. And palladium, I still think needs to go lower as well. Copper also following through the downside. Negative here for copper. You lost that green bar, and you're going to lose it on a daily close. So it's a daily bar, daily close below it. So that is negation. So now I would give copper the downside bias to about 370, 371 here. So copper definitely on the weaker side today, as it could not follow through on that on that big surge from the other or last week. All right, Bitcoin here. Again, you know what I'm going to say. It's holding up, no problems. Weekly looks fine. Weekly bull flag until proven otherwise. If you lose 28.5, on a daily close, then things get interesting, but it's really got to go all the way down to 26.3 to negate that weekly pattern. Until then, I give it the upside bias to 32.5 to 33,000. Really simple. Okay, lastly, market set here to close in about 10 seconds. I'm going to close just off the highs here. So tomorrow, again, if you're a bull, you want to play bull tomorrow, you want to gap down again. If you want to take a shot bear, I wouldn't have a problem with taking a shot on a gap up here. There's the bell, up big. We're a little short-term stretch. We're going into OPEX. A lot of people are buying calls. We've got Tesla and Netflix reporting tomorrow. Those will be big market movers. We'll see how that shakes out. But right now, market stretched, but respect it here in the near term because we are getting into a mania phase, and they can take this higher as long as the trend is up and as long as you're above these technical levels here. Anyways, guys, gonna wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you guys all tomorrow.